Okay, so get ready for this one because it's a wild one. Picture this 1954 Tokyo airport. A man just arrives.
Seems normal enough.
Right, but here's the thing. He's got a passport.
Okay.
From a country called Torrid.
Torrid? Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem is...
You've never heard of it.
Nobody's ever heard of Torrid. And get this, the guy vanishes.
Wait, so he just disappears?
Oh, God. Gone. And that's what we're going deep into today, this story.
I am intrigued.
And the idea that maybe, just maybe, he slipped between realities.
That's a fascinating concept. You know, what's really interesting about this case...
What's that?
We're not just talking about some dusty old reports or, like a legend.
Right.
We've got a clip we're going to be looking at from a YouTube channel called Hypnovibes.
I've heard of them.
Yeah. Hypnotist Naomi works with a participant named Jessica, and she channels information from a being calling itself a gatekeeper.
Oh, wow. And this gatekeeper?
This gatekeeper claims to have the inside scoop on how realities work and what happened to our missing traveler.
All right, this is going to be good. So
it is a wild ride.
Let's dive into this clip. Okay, so just to recap, we've got this traveler passport from a country that doesn't exist, disappears from a locked room.
It's a lot to take in.
And this gatekeeper is claiming he basically stumbled into our reality by accident.
Like he took a wrong turn, ended up in a completely different city.
Exactly. And the universe is kind of like a giant building with tons of rooms.
Countless rooms, and each one is a different reality.
Okay, I like that analogy.
And sometimes the doors between those rooms, well, they can just open.
Leading to these unexpected...
crossovers.
But wait, there's more. The gatekeeper says he was brought back.
Brought back.
Yeah, like someone realized he was in the wrong place and kind of guided him back home.
Using consciousness.
Yeah, to shift him to his own reality.
Wow. So this is aligning with some pretty mind-bending theories in physics.
Like what?
Particularly in quantum mechanics, where the act of observation is believed to actually influence reality.
You're saying our minds aren't just passive observers? They're actively shaping the world around us.
Exactly. It's a concept that's been explored, by physicists, philosophers for decades.
So it's not just some new age thing.
No, think about the observer effect. Have you heard of that?
I think so.
The very act of observing a particle actually changes its behavior.
Right.
So what if our consciousness has that same effect, but on a much larger scale?
So we're actually influencing the structure of reality itself.
It's a lot to consider, and the gatekeepers also suggest these dimensional slips.
The slips?
Yeah, they happen way more often than we think.
Really?
Like maybe we're all experiencing these mini shifts all the time. We just don't even notice them.
Okay, so have you ever felt like something was just off?
Off? How do you mean?
Like you were in the wrong place or the wrong time?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Or like misplacing something and it reappears somewhere that just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Those could be like tiny glimpses into these dimensional shifts.
Or what about deja vu?
Ooh, good one.
Maybe that's a bleed through from a parallel life.
I like that. All right, let's get back to the gatekeepers.
Yeah, they said their job is all about like balancing energy levels.
Maintaining order.
Yeah, in the universe. What does that even mean?
Well, a lot of spiritual and philosophical traditions, they talk about a universal energy.
Okay.
That flows through everything. So the gatekeepers might be talking about ensuring that this energy stays balanced,
Right.
To prevent disruptions that could ripple across different realities.
So like they're a cosmic energy regulator, keeping the universal machine running smoothly.
It's fascinating, right? Imagine a whole network of interconnected realities, all influencing each other. These gatekeepers might be the ones making sure that these connections don't become, unstable.
Or chaotic.
Exactly.
But hold on, how do they even know what to do? The gatekeepers in the clip, they just knew what Naomi was going to ask.
Yeah, without any prior knowledge.
It's like they're tapped into some kind of universal database.
They use the term resonance.
Resonance.
Suggesting a connection that goes beyond our normal ways of communication.
So they're not reading minds. They're accessing a deeper layer of reality where knowledge is just there.
It's like their consciousness is tuned to a level where information just flows freely, not limited by time or space.
So are you saying there are beings out there who know everything, who can see all realities at once?
Nah, that's a question.
And are they watching us? Are they like stepping in sometimes to nudge things in the right direction?
That's a lot to unpack, and we're just getting started.
This deep dive is already so deep.
Let's explore these possibilities further.
Okay, so we're back. And my head is spinning a little bit from all this talk about vanishing travelers and hidden dimensions and these gatekeeper beings.
Yeah, it definitely pushes the boundaries of what we usually think of as possible, but, that's what makes these deep dives so exciting.
It is, and it's important to remember this is all coming from a channeled entity.
Right.
Not like a scientific study or anything, but the ideas themselves about parallel realities and consciousness like influencing the universe, those have been around for a while.
Absolutely. These concepts have been explored in philosophy and ancient traditions and even modern physics. What's interesting about this Hypnovibes clip is how it kind of brings those ideas together, through this gatekeeper character.
It's like they're giving us a peek behind the curtain into a reality that's been there all along.
Hidden in plain sight.
But if these other realities are so close by, why don't we see more evidence of them?
That's a good question.
Why aren't we bumping into travelers from other dimensions like all the time?
Maybe we are, but our brains are just filtering out the information that doesn't fit, with our current understanding of reality.
Like our senses are tuned to a specific frequency and we're missing out on a whole spectrum of other frequencies.
It's like that. Yeah, it's like we're only listening to one radio station and there's a whole universe of other stations out there broadcasting.
So it's not that these other realities are far away. They're just vibrating at a different frequency.
That's one way to think about it.
And maybe through things like meditation or hypnosis, we can expand our awareness.
Maybe even just deep contemplation.
And tune into those other frequencies.
That's an interesting thought.
So going back to the Hypnovibes channel, maybe that's what Jessica's doing when she channels the gatekeeper.
Tapping into that other frequency.
Right, and allowing that information to flow through.
Think about it. If consciousness isn't limited to our physical bodies, if it can go beyond the boundaries of our perceived reality,
then accessing information from other dimensions might not be so far-fetched after all.
Right.
It's like our minds are capable of so much more than we realize.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the clip and see what else the gatekeeper has to say. Whoa, hold on. Did you catch that the gatekeeper just mentioned a coffee spill in Naomi's office?
Yeah.
And said it came from another reality? Like what?
It's a really interesting example of how these dimensional bleed-throughs could be happening in our everyday lives.
So you're saying those weird glitches we experience, like misplacing things or having that feeling of deja vu?
Maybe those are actually tiny dimensional slips.
Wow. But the gatekeeper didn't really go into what triggers these slips, do they?
Yeah. No, not really.
Maybe it's something we're not supposed to understand yet. But if it's happening all the time, shouldn't there be more evidence, more people talking about these strange experiences?
Perhaps there are, but we just dismiss them as coincidence or tricks of our memory. Think about it. Have you ever experienced something that you couldn't explain, but you just kind of brushed it off because it seemed too weird?
Yeah, like that time I lost my keys and then found them in the fridge. I just figured I was having a moment.
Exactly. We tend to rationalize away the things that don't fit into our neat little boxes of understanding.
So maybe those seemingly insignificant glitches are actually clues to a much bigger picture, a reality that's far more complex and interconnected than we ever imagined.
And maybe by exploring those glitches, by really diving into the mysteries of consciousness and the nature of reality, we can unlock a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. We need to be more open-minded, more willing to question what we think we know. Okay, so my mind is officially blown wide open after that last segment. All this talk about dimensional slips and alternate realities, it's a lot to take in.
It really makes you question everything you thought you knew about reality,
For sure. And going back to the Hypnovibes clip, I can't stop thinking about what the gatekeeper said about knowing Naomi's questions before she even asked them.
That whole resonance thing.
Right, like they had access to some kind of universal knowledge.
It's interesting because that idea of a universal field of knowledge, it comes up in a lot of different traditions and philosophies.
Really?
Yeah, suggesting that information isn't something we just, learn and store in our brains, but something that exists independently of us, a vast reservoir of knowledge just waiting to be tapped into.
So it's not about memorizing facts and figures, it's more about tuning into this deeper level of knowing.
Exactly. And think about this. If consciousness isn't bound by time and space,
Okay, yeah.
then accessing information from other dimensions, from the past, present, and future, it might actually be possible.
Hold on, are you saying that everyone has the potential to access this universal knowledge?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
Like we all have this cosmic internet connection, but we just don't know how to log in.
Maybe it's not about having some special ability, but more about developing our awareness, expanding our perception to encompass a wider range of frequencies.
So instead of just focusing on what we can see and hear, We need to pay attention to our intuition.
Those gut feelings.
Yeah, those moments of insight that seem to come out of nowhere.
Exactly. Those could be glimpses into that deeper level of knowing, those subtle whispers from the universal field of information.
And how do we tune into those whispers?
Well, practices like meditation, contemplation, even creative activities like art or music might help us connect with that deeper level of knowing.
So the key to unlocking this universal knowledge isn't out there somewhere. It's within ourselves. We just need to learn how to listen.
It's a journey of self-discovery, exploring the hidden depths of our own consciousness.
I like that. But one last question before we wrap things up.
Sure.
If these dimensional slips are happening all the time, is there anything we could do to control them? Or are we just along for the ride?
The gatekeepers in the clip didn't really give any specific advice on how to avoid or control those shifts.
Right.
Maybe it's not about control, but about acceptance, embracing the idea that reality is more fluid and interconnected than we tend to think.
So instead of trying to prevent these slips, we should just be open to the possibility that our reality is way more expansive than we currently perceive.
Exactly. And maybe by opening ourselves to those possibilities, we might even discover new ways to navigate the multidimensional tapestry of existence.
Okay, so let's try to recap everything we've talked about today because, wow, what a deep dive.
It's been a journey.
We started with that mystery of the vanishing traveler, a man who disappeared from a Tokyo hotel room in 1954, possibly slipping between realities. And then we explored the idea of dimensional shifts, those unexpected crossovers between parallel universes, and how those might be happening all the time, right under our noses.
And we can't forget about the gatekeepers, those beings who seem to have access to a level of knowledge that's beyond our current understanding, and the idea that we might all have the potential to tap into that same universal knowledge.
Exactly. It's mind-blowing to think about, and it really leaves us with more questions than answers, but maybe that's okay.
It is the not knowing the mystery, the endless possibilities. Those are what make exploration so exciting.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So keep exploring, keep questioning, keep your minds open to the infinite potential within yourselves and the universe around you. Until next time, keep diving deep.
I like to find out about this kind of interesting event that happened, I believe, in 1954. There is a person, he arrived in Tokyo airport, and then he showed his passport, and this passport is from this country called a Taured, T-A-U-R-E-D, and so the immigration officers, they don't recognize that country, and they couldn't really understand what he's talking about, and then he was taken to a hotel room, and the next day he just vanished. So whatever the energy can come through to explain to us about this, when I count to 3. 1, you're coming through very nicely. 2, almost here. And 3.
Just a gatekeeper.
Can you tell me more?
I'm responsible to oversee the different worlds that collide.
So you are like this being, Oliver?
Not exactly. That individual was obviously not from the same reality,
Right.
or from the same world.
Right?
And he happened to accidentally slip into a different reality.
Right.
So we had to bring him back.
Oh, you have to bring you.
Yes,
Wow. So it's an accident.
very much so.
So because there are some holes in the realities sometimes,
Yes,
like a error.
yes.
So how do you bring him back?
We identify him or that person,
No?
and we use our consciousness to shift them back.
And he will not resist
He doesn't have a choice.
because on the soul level he knows.
Yes,
It's hard for us to imagine when he was in that hotel room the next day, guarded, there are guards outside, and the next day everything about him, his passport, everything vanished.
yes, because he wasn't supposed to be there.
So how can we just know, how can things happen this way?
Sometimes it just happens.
So let's say my office, there's two times. Wow. Now I'm thinking about something else. But once the carpet has this coffee spill, and which is not caused by me, and it was fresh. And when I channeled, says in a different reality of this office, and someone else, maybe another version of me, was drinking coffee. Can you tell me about that?
It is a similar concept.
It's an accident.
Yes. But accidents like that happen more often than you believe. It's just not everyone is aware.
or everyone believes.
Yes.
They just say, oh, maybe I forgot.
Yes.
Because the reality is not solid at all.
It's never solid.
And what else you do besides you fix things like this?
We try to balance the energy levels.
Right. I hear that.
Because there needs to be order.
But who makes the order?
We intuitively know what to do.
Oh,
Everything is connected.
I see. And do you have a name?
No.
So let's say today someone else wants to try this. Let's say if that person you're in the body with make this person to be in this state, and let's say another person talk about the same thing, and you also will come out?
That depends. We have to see what happens.
So what happens when I was describing this, what I like to know about this matter? When you hear my voice,
It's resonance.
so I don't have to know you.
No.
When you say resonance, what does that mean?
Resonance as in, I know what you're asking.
Right. But anyone can ask,
Yes.
right? So it doesn't matter who asks?
No.
All right, very good. And I appreciate your information today. And I'll let you go. And we might talk in the future.